hard to imagine a place where you could make a case for information overload more than a lot of social media platforms. I find that it's constantly a problem, and I find that certain of them have a tendency to not just push a sort of information overload, but they also have a tendency to push this guilt trip on folks for various reasons. Different ones do that in different ways. The ones where I hang out with or deal with people who I consider to be more my friends than people I deal with on you could say, a more political or professional basis, those platforms, the tendency is to push at me various individuals who are undergoing or dealing with various kinds of problems. Right, and I'll get into that a little more as time goes on in this video in all likelihood. But I want to talk today on this idea of people guilt tripping, and again, the subject for my video today will literally be guilt trip on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Monday the 10th of January of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub, or anywhere else you happen to be finding me today. Remember that my preferred platform is Rumble, but I do understand if you pick me up on other platforms, and that it seems to be common that actually more people are seeing me on certain other platforms these days. But be that as it may, let me go ahead and get on with my subject, which again today is guilt trip, and I'm going to start that by going through my notes, which is something I try to make a habit of doing to give you some idea what I'm sort of going to say in the sort of free time that I take after that. It may seem, or I may seem to harp on this where some folks are concerned, but I have a son who's more or less in the middle towards the severe end of the autism spectrum. While we're at it, I know very well what it looks like to deal with Lewy body dementia, which a lot of people, I didn't even know what it was until I dealt with it, right? Until I had somebody who had it. Though both of these, and my niece's daughter being born a micropreemie, and the micropreemie's grandma and my mom both going through cancer, are known to me, I am not going to add things to my timeline or whatever on a given social media platform as a result. Yes, I have seen many things happen to family and friends. I had a friend who went through strokes, just like my mom did. He also went through heart attacks, had another who went through cancer. By no means is it somehow enjoyable or fun even to watch such things. I haven't had grandparents since the mid-70s. Real grandfathers since the early 60s. Okay? This is how my life plays out. None of this making its way out on social media, not even, nor even a general discussion, I should say, of the conditions mentioned, is helpful for the most part. Now and then I'll post stuff on autism from a second-person perspective. Maybe a first-person, I don't know if I'm autistic or not. Again, I've never been diagnosed. Mostly it's talking about stuff that's off the beaten track or looking at things from a different perspective. Even such things I don't spend a lot of time on. I imagine most folks pretty much directly tune out before even reading the text of the post, much less watching the video I've likely created to make it easy to digest. Can I blame them? Actually, where most folks aren't facing some of the things I am, they have their own problems. How will I make sure my children are fed? This is a question they're probably asking themselves. What about my grandpa, who's in the old folks' home and who I seldom get to visit? You know, these are questions that they're going to be asking themselves a lot of times. I would love for folks to pay attention so they're more aware when and if they meet my son, for example, when I post the things I do, right? I would love for them to pay more attention to it. That said, I don't go around cursing individuals for not looking at things I put out there. As I say, they already have enough on their plates. In many instances, even if their child or children are pretty much perfectly healthy, no oddities at all, I don't think they need more on their plates than just dealing with those children and so forth. They have enough on their plates. Nor do I make it a matter of you must pity me, my son, or anybody else. What I put out there is for information and not much more. I get that some folks think they're doing the same with what they put out there, and maybe they even are in some cases. I have one thing for you to consider, though. Trying to guilt trip me or anyone else into feeling sorry for you or others is not in good taste. I already feel bad for people fighting battles, and I don't really I already feel bad for people fighting battles I don't deal with. I don't need others trying to make me feel guilty for their condition, for the condition of those people. I'm going to say this again. If you know me, you know that my mom had dementia for years. Not super long time, but long enough. You know that she had hip replacement surgery. You know she had cataract surgery. You know she had strokes. You know she had cancer at one point in her life that she apparently lived through. So many things you know about my mom. You know that my sister-in-law has fairly recently been diagnosed with cancer and that she's been fighting that battle. Well, now she's dealing with other things besides, and I'm not going to get into the details, and I'm certainly not trying to get you to pity her or, anything like that, or me for what's going on. I tell you this in order to point out that there are a lot of us who have people around us who have been dealing with various very difficult things for quite a while now. It was literally, 5 or 6 years that my mom found herself in nursing homes because my various members of my family that took care of her just got to the point where they were at the end of their rope. And I wasn't in a position to do anything at all, right? So the point I'm making with all of this is this. Guilt tripping me into feeling bad for somebody because that person is in some bad position. The first thing you need to understand is you're not going to guilt trip me. I didn't put them there. I didn't put that person in that position. The second thing you need to understand is that does not mean that I don't feel bad that they're in that position. You're not going to guilt trip me into doing things on social media because you say I should. But at the same time, when I find out that somebody has been paralyzed for their entire life, somebody's dealt with cerebral palsy, somebody's dealt with autism that makes it so that they have to have handlers all the time and probably don't get a chance most of the time to do the various things that they want to do. When that happens, when I find out that that's true, I definitely feel bad for that individual, even if they happen to live a fairly rich life. I've said before, I have a couple of friends who both ended up in wheelchairs in the course of time. One of them was a lawyer and did other things as well. One of them did a number of different things, including grant writing and various other things for folks, and worked in jobs for as long as he could possibly do it. And even though those people had comparatively good lives, there's no way for me not to realize that they did not have the kind of life that I do. And I could feel guilty about that all day long. I don't. I feel bad for the people that they went through that, but I don't feel guilty. I'm sorry. I've got my own issues. They're nothing near as serious for the most part. I've been through things that you might not recognize or realize, like spending a couple of years in Korea and 9 years in the Air Force. But the reality is, as much as I've had certain hard times, I know that there are lots of people out there who have it worse than I do. That said, please don't think that I'm going to be guilt-tripped into doing things like posting things on social media for people as a result of that. I want what I put on social media to be the things that I think are important. And I'm not telling you that those people aren't important, but they have their lives to live. And there are people out there who literally have died from various things. And there's a society that's getting ever more odd in its and insane in its behavior. And all of these things need to be talked about and dealt with. So please don't think you're going to guilt trip me into things. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 10th of January, 2022. In case I said 2021 earlier, as I say, forgive me. I am trying to make sure that I do that correctly. That means tomorrow will be Tuesday, the 11th of January of 2022. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub. If you happen to catch me on minds.com, if I put this or any other thing that I do there, and anywhere else that you might happen to catch me, remember Rumble is my preferred platform. But if you see me there, thank you for that as well as a point. Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble if you want to show that you like my content. You can give me a plus or a minus also on Rumble, and various likes and dislikes on other platforms where I put my content. So you, by all means, do that. A like or a dislike, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube is a good example. The subject for today has been guilt trip, and tomorrow we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. And I want to sort of hit that from a couple of different angles, and so I'm going to try and do that tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. And hopefully we will see you again on Tuesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Monday, the 10th of January of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.